My name is Ryan, and at 32 years old, I finally had something I could call my own. After years of hard work, I bought an apartment that represented everything I had sacrificed for. I was beyond excited to host my first New Year party there, a chance to create my own traditions away from my family dynamics. I had always been in the shadow of my older brother Adam, who somehow always came first in my parents' eyes. I never imagined they would take the one thing that was truly mine and hand it over to him without a second thought. Tell me where you are watching from, and hit subscribe to see how I finally stood up for myself after years of being the family doormat. Growing up in suburban Chicago shaped much of who I am today. Our family was solidly middle class, with my father working as an engineer and my mother teaching third grade at the local elementary school. I started working when I was 16, bagging groceries at the local supermarket while maintaining honor roll grades. My parents always said they were proud, but their actions told a different story. My brother Adam, 2 years older than me, took a different path in life. While I was saving for college and working summers to minimize student loans, Adam bounced between community college programs without finishing any of them. My parents always had a reason why his struggles were not his fault. The professors were too demanding. The job market was tough. The economy was bad. Whatever the explanation, it was never Adam who was responsible. I put myself through college with minimal debt, working part-time throughout my 4 years, and graduating with a degree in information systems. For the past 8 years, I worked my way up to become an IT project manager at a healthcare software company. The salary was good, and I lived frugally, saving every extra dollar toward my goal of homeownership. 5 years of sacrifices finally paid off when I purchased my apartment. It was a 2-bedroom unit in one of the better neighborhoods in the city, with hardwood floors that I refinished myself and a kitchen I renovated on weekends over the course of 6 months. Every corner of that place represented my hard work. The custom cabinets I installed, the backsplash I laid tile by tile, the precisely measured countertops, I saved an extra 3 months to afford. This was not just an apartment. It was physical proof that I could succeed on my own terms. Adam, meanwhile, was on his second divorce at 34. He had 3 kids, Jackson, 10, Emma, 8, and Tyler, 5. Their mother had primary custody, but Adam had them every other weekend and 1 evening a week. He worked as a sales representative for a local beverage distributor, a job my father had secured for him through an old colleague. His financial situation was perpetually dire, a combination of child support payments, poor money management, and what my mother called his generous nature, but what I recognized as impulsivity. My parents' retirement should have been comfortable. Dad had a solid pension, and Mom had her teacher retirement fund. Yet, they were constantly helping Adam make rent, cover car repairs, or handle unexpected expenses for the kids. They never complained about this. It was simply expected that family helped family. What went unspoken was that I was expected to handle my own problems while Adam received constant bailouts. The pattern had been established early in our childhood. When I won baseball trophies, they were stored in the garage to avoid cluttering the living room. When Adam received participation certificates for the 2 seasons he played before quitting, they were framed and displayed prominently. When I graduated college with honors, the celebration dinner was cut short because Adam announced his engagement to his second wife that same weekend, shifting all attention to his news. New Year celebrations had always been held at my parents' house. Each year, I would arrive early to help my mother prepare food, set up decorations, and organize activities. Adam would arrive an hour late with a cheap bottle of champagne, make a grand entrance, and somehow receive credit for the party atmosphere. My mother would beam at him for making the effort to show up, while my contributions were expected and therefore invisible. This year was going to be different. For the first time, I had my own space worthy of hosting. I had invited 25 friends, including several colleagues from work, my college roommate who was flying in from Seattle, and friends from my recreational soccer league. I spent weeks planning the menu, selecting the perfect wines, and creating the right atmosphere. My circle of friends had witnessed the family dynamic over the years. Marcus, my best friend since high school, had been present for countless incidents where my achievements were minimized while Adam was praised for minimal effort. Jennifer, who I dated for 2 years in college, once pointed out how my parents called Adam 3 times during our graduation dinner to check if he was okay watching my apartment while we were out celebrating. Even my boss, David, had noticed how I seemed to shrink in confidence whenever my family was mentioned in conversation. There had been so many boundary violations over the years that I had almost become numb to them. Adam borrowing my car for what he called a quick errand, and returning it 12 hours later with an empty tank and a mysterious dent in the passenger door. My parents lending my expensive power tools to neighbors without asking, resulting in a broken drill that was never replaced. The time Adam needed a place to stay for just 2 weeks after his first divorce and ended up living on my couch for 4 months. But my apartment was different. It represented the first time I had created something substantial for myself. The down payment came from years of careful saving. The renovations were the result of countless YouTube tutorials, weekend work, and the satisfaction of learning new skills. When friends visited, they saw the real me in every detail, from the carefully selected art prints to the bookshelf I built myself. This space was not just where I lived. It was physical proof that I could create something worthwhile on my own terms. December had been a whirlwind of preparation for the New Year party. I had researched catering companies carefully, eventually selecting Urban Table, a local business known for their innovative appetizers and impeccable service. The $1,200 payment covered their signature dishes: mini beef Wellingtons, shrimp skewers with mango salsa, vegetarian spring rolls, an assortment of artisanal cheeses, and their famous chocolate fountain with fresh fruit for dipping. The owner, Sarah, had worked with me to customize the menu, ensuring there were options for my vegan coworker and my friend with celiac disease. Weekends in December were dedicated to shopping trips for decorations. I found elegant silver and blue ornaments that complemented my living room color scheme, string lights to create a warm ambiance, and special champagne flutes with the year etched into the glass as keepsakes for my guests. I even splurged on a small photo booth setup with props so everyone could capture memories of the night. The playlist took hours to perfect. I reached out to each invited guest, asking for songs that held special meaning for them. Marcus contributed Bon Jovi classics from our road trip across 3 states during college spring break. My colleague Tina suggested the Florence and the Machine song that played during her wedding first dance. My soccer teammate Kyle added the victory song our team blasted after winning the local recreational league championship. Each selection was personal, creating a musical tapestry of our shared experiences. Since many guests would be drinking, I had arranged for several to stay overnight. The second bedroom was prepared with fresh linens, and I purchased 2 high-quality air mattresses for the living room. I researched local breakfast spots for the morning after, and created a map of the best coffee places within walking distance. The group text thread with my friends buzzed with excitement as the date approached. Marcus, who had seen the apartment evolve from an empty shell to my personalized space, kept messaging about how this party would mark a new chapter for all of us. As our 30s progressed, house parties had become less frequent, replaced by quieter dinners and earlier nights. This was going to be an exception, a throwback to more carefree days combined with the adult pleasure of celebrating in a beautiful space. 3 days before New Year Eve, my mother called. The moment I saw her name on my phone screen, I felt the familiar mix of love and tension that characterized our relationship. "Hello, Ryan," she said, her voice carrying that tone I recognized from childhood, the one that meant something uncomfortable was coming. "We need to have a family meeting tonight. Can you come over for dinner around 6? My stomach tightened. Family meetings in our household had historically been forums where decisions were announced rather than discussed, usually involving some sacrifice required from me for Adam's benefit. "Is everything okay?" I asked, already mentally rearranging my evening plans. I had intended to finalize the party seating arrangement and confirm the catering delivery details. "Everything is fine," she assured me with a brightness that seemed forced. "We just need to discuss something important as a family. I am making your favorite pot roast." That last detail was telling. In our family, Favorite meals were the currency used to soften difficult conversations. The fact that she was preparing mine suggested whatever was coming would be particularly hard to swallow. Family always comes first. This had been drilled into me since childhood. Despite my misgivings, I heard myself agreeing to be there. Sure, Mom. 6 o'clock works. Can I bring anything? Just yourself, dear. Your father and I are looking forward to seeing you. The December evening was cold, with light snow falling as I drove the familiar route to my childhood home. Christmas lights adorned most houses in my parents' neighborhood, creating a festive atmosphere that contrasted with my growing sense of unease. I had stopped to purchase an expensive bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, a peace offering for whatever was to come. As I drove, memories of previous urgent meetings flashed through my mind. The time I was asked to postpone my semester abroad because Adam needed help moving after his landlord sold his rental property. The family discussion where it was decided I would give Adam my reliable used car when I purchased a new one, despite my plans to sell it to help with student loans. The awkward dinner, where my parents suggested I invite Adam on my long-planned hiking trip to Glacier National Park because he needed to clear his head after his first divorce. My parents' house looked the same as always, a 2-story colonial with the swing set my father had built 25 years ago still standing in the backyard, though no one had used it in decades. Adam's car was already in the driveway, a leased luxury sedan he could not afford but insisted was necessary for his sales job. I noticed something unusual as I approached the front door. Through the window, I could see Adam's children running around the living room, their faces animated with excitement. This was odd considering it was a Tuesday evening and they were usually with their mother on weekdays. Before I could ring the doorbell, Tyler, Adam's youngest, spotted me through the window and came rushing to the door. "Uncle Ryan," he shouted as he pulled the door open. "Daddy says we are going to have a sleepover at your house. Is it true you have a big television? Can I bring my Nintendo?" I froze, confusion washing over me as I processed his words. Before I could respond, my mother appeared in the hallway, quickly ushering Tyler back inside. "Ryan, you are here. Come in, dinner is almost ready." As I stepped into the house, I could hear my father and Adam in the kitchen, their voices hushed but intense. When they noticed my arrival, the conversation stopped abruptly. "Hey, little brother." Adam greeted me with unusual warmth. The aroma of pot roast filled the house, mixing with the lingering scent of the Christmas tree in the corner of the living room. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but there was an undercurrent of tension that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "What did Tyler mean about a sleepover at my place?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual as I handed my mother the wine. "Oh, we will discuss everything over dinner," my mother replied, avoiding eye contact as she accepted the bottle. "This is a nice wine, Ryan. So thoughtful of you." Something was definitely wrong. The pieces were beginning to fit together in a way that made my stomach clench, but I still could not fully see the picture that was forming. Dinner started with forced pleasantries and obvious avoidance of whatever topic had necessitated this family meeting. My mother served the pot roast with roasted potatoes and glazed carrots, exactly as she had made it for every special occasion throughout my childhood. My father discussed the unusually mild winter, while Adam kept complimenting my apartment, specifically mentioning the spacious bedrooms and the convenient location near the elementary school his children attended. "So Ryan," Adam said between bites, "that second bedroom in your place, you just use it as an office, right? No roommate or anything?" I nodded slowly, suspicion growing. "It is my home office. I work from home 2 days a week." My mother jumped in with unusual enthusiasm. "It is such a nice space. Remember when we helped you move in? So much natural light in that room. Perfect for children, really." I put down my fork, no longer able to pretend this was a normal family dinner. What exactly is going on here? My parents exchanged glances, and my father cleared his throat, taking the lead as he often did for difficult conversations. "Son, there has been a situation with Adam's housing. His landlord sold the building to developers who are converting the units to luxury condos. All tenants have to vacate by the end of the month." Adam's rental issues were not new. He had moved 4 times in the past 5 years, each time with some crisis or complaint. But something about the way my father was framing this, combined with Tyler's earlier comment, was setting off alarm bells. "That is tough," I said carefully. "Has he found a new place?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Adam suddenly became very interested in cutting his meat into precise pieces. My mother fidgeted with her napkin. My father sighed deeply before continuing. "The rental market is very competitive right now, and with 3 children, Adam needs a certain amount of space. Plus, with the holidays, everything happens so quickly. We have been discussing options as a family." "As a family?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly. "This is the first I am hearing about it." "Well, that's why you are here tonight," my mother interjected, "to discuss this as a family." We moved to the living room after dinner, the children playing loudly in the adjacent den. The adults sat in a configuration I recognized from childhood interventions, my parents on the sofa, Adam in the armchair, and me isolated in the rarely used formal chair near the window. My mother clutched a cup of coffee that she was not drinking, a prop to occupy her hands. "Ryan," my mother finally began, "we know how hard you have worked for your apartment. It is beautiful, and we are so proud of what you have accomplished." Whenever my mother started with praise, it was inevitably followed by a significant "but." I braced myself. But family needs to stick together in times of crisis, and Adam really needs our help right now. His landlord has given him until January 1st to move out, which, as you know, is just a few days away. I glanced at Adam, who was scrolling through his phone, seemingly disinterested in a conversation that was clearly about him. My father picked up where my mother left off. "We have given this a lot of thought, and the best solution seems to be for Adam and the kids to move into your apartment temporarily. You are single. You can stay anywhere, maybe with a friend or even here with us for a while. Adam needs the stability for the children." I stared at them in disbelief. They were not asking, they were telling. The decision had already been made without my input. "What do you mean? Move into my apartment? I have a life there, work obligations, plans." My mother cut me off with a dismissive wave. "It would only be until Adam finds a suitable place. A few months at most." "Months?" I echoed, my voice hollow with shock. Adam finally looked up from his phone. "It is not like you use all that space anyway. The kids are really excited about it. I told them about your big TV." A terrible suspicion dawned on me. "Wait, have you already told the kids they are moving into my place, before even discussing it with me?" My mother had the grace to look slightly embarrassed, but she powered through. "We needed to prepare them for the transition. Children need time to adjust to changes." I was struggling to process what was happening. Then I remembered my plans for New Year Eve. "I have a party scheduled. I have already paid the catering company $1,200. 25 people are coming." My mother brightened, apparently relieved to have a problem she could solve. "Oh, the party can still happen. Adam and the kids can attend. It will be a nice welcome for them." "That's not." I started, but Adam interrupted. "Though we will need to make it more kid-friendly. Maybe lose the alcohol focus," he said, as if he was doing me a favor by hijacking my event. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "This is not a request, is it? You have already decided this is happening." My father shifted uncomfortably. "We gave Adam your spare key, the one you left with us for emergencies. He needs to start moving some things in tomorrow." The betrayal cut deep. My own parents had given someone else access to my home without my permission. "The kids will take your room," Adam continued casually. "I will take the second bedroom. We can put your stuff in storage." I felt like I was in a bizarre alternate reality. They were not just asking me to vacate my home, but had already planned how to repurpose my personal space. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In the corner of the living room, partially hidden behind the Christmas tree, was a stack of boxes labeled Ryan Books and Ryan Clothes. With growing horror, I realized some of my possessions had already been packed up. "Have you been in my apartment packing my things?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Just getting a head start," Adam replied with a shrug. "Mom helped. We only did the stuff you obviously don't use much." I stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over the side table. This was beyond a boundary violation. It was an invasion, a complete disregard for me as an independent adult. "I need to go," I managed to say, my chest tight with anger and hurt. "Ryan, don't be dramatic," my mother scolded. "We are talking about family here. Adam and the children need your help." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I had been blind to for years. In her eyes, I would always be secondary to Adam. My needs, my boundaries, my very home were all expendable if Adam required them. Without another word, I walked out, barely mumbling a goodbye to my niece and nephews who were innocent in this whole mess. The last thing I heard as I closed the front door was my mother saying to my father, "He will calm down. Ryan always does." I drove aimlessly through the streets of my childhood neighborhood, past the elementary school where my mother had taught, past the park where I had played baseball while Adam watched from the bleachers with our parents. The familiar landmarks now seemed like symbols of a family dynamic I had accepted for far too long. Eventually, I found myself in the parking lot of my old high school, specifically near the football field where I had played defensive back for 3 years. I sat in my car, engine off, watching the light snow accumulate on the windshield as memories flooded back. I remembered my parents attending every game, but their conversations afterward always centered on how cold Adam had been in the stands or how long the game had kept them from their evening plans. My achievements on the field were secondary to Adam's comfort as a spectator. My phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from friends confirming party details. Marcus wanted to know if he should bring extra folding chairs. Tina was asking about parking options near my building. My college roommate confirmed his flight would arrive on time. I could not bring myself to respond to any of them. As I sat there, I recalled the pattern of sacrifices that had defined my relationship with my family. When relatives visited from out of town, I was always the one who gave up my bedroom, while Adam kept his. The summer I had planned a trip to Europe after saving for 2 years. My parents had asked me to use the money to help Adam cover the security deposit on a new apartment after his eviction. The countless times I had lent money that was never repaid, adjusted my schedule to babysit on short notice, or listened to Adam's problems for hours, while my own concerns were dismissed as minor. Initially, I considered doing what I had always done, complying with my family's wishes to keep the peace. I could cancel my party, stay on my parents' couch or with a friend, and wait for Adam to eventually move on. It would be the path of least resistance, the role I had always played in the family drama. My phone rang, displaying Marcus' name. I almost ignored it, but something compelled me to answer. "Hey," he said when I picked up. "Just checking on those party preparations. Need any help tomorrow?" The concern in his voice broke something inside me. I found myself telling him everything, the words pouring out in a jumbled, emotional mess. The family meeting, the betrayal, the boxes of my possessions already packed. Marcus was silent for a moment after I finished. Then he asked a question that hit me like a thunderbolt. "Would they ever ask Adam to do this for you?" I knew the answer immediately. Never. If I had been the one with housing issues, the solution would have been for me to figure it out on my own. Adam would never have been expected to inconvenience himself for my benefit. "You deserve better than to be their backup plan, Ryan," Marcus continued. "This apartment means something to you. It represents your independence, your hard work. Don't let them take that away." After we hung up, I checked into a hotel room for the night, needing neutral space to think. Sleep eluded me as I researched information on my phone. I looked up the current market value of my apartment, discovering it had appreciated significantly since my purchase due to new development in the area. I read through my mortgage documents, refreshing myself on the terms and conditions. I even pulled up old emails, documenting the times I had co-signed for Adam on various loans, giving me insight into his current financial situation. By morning, clarity had emerged from the emotional fog. For the first time in my life, I was going to prioritize my own well-being over Adam's needs. I was going to stand up for myself, not with angry confrontation that would be dismissed as childish tantrum, but with calm, deliberate action that would make a point impossible to ignore. I called Laura, a friend who worked as a real estate agent, and outlined my situation. She listened without judgment and offered practical advice on how to proceed if I wanted to sell quickly. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "Real estate decisions should not be made in the heat of emotion." "I am not acting on emotion," I told her, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "I am responding to new information about my family dynamic. The apartment was supposed to be my sanctuary, my achievement. Now it will always be associated with this betrayal. I want a fresh start." After hanging up with Laura, I spent the morning transforming my hurt into a strategic plan. I calculated the exact financial impact of what my family was demanding: rent for temporary accommodations, storage fees for my furniture, the catering deposit I would lose, the cost of breaking my internet contract. It was substantial, but the emotional cost of continuing to be the family doormat was even higher. I accessed the loan documents Adam and I had co-signed years ago, reminding myself of his income at the time and his debt-to-income ratio. Given what I knew of his current salary and obligations, there was no way he could afford the mortgage payments on my apartment, not to mention the property taxes and homeowners association fees. My parents would end up covering those costs, putting strain on their retirement funds. The realization strengthened my resolve. This was not just about standing up for myself. In a way, I was also preventing my family from making a financially disastrous decision, though I doubted they would see it that way. My first call that morning was to Urban Table Catering. Sarah, the owner, answered on the second ring. "I need to cancel my New Year Eve order," I said, getting straight to the point. "Mr. Harrington, that's only 4 days away," she replied, concern evident in her voice. "Our cancellation policy." "I understand your policy," I interrupted. "I am prepared to lose the deposit. I just need to know if you can process a refund for the remaining balance." After some discussion, Sarah agreed to refund $800 of my $1,200 payment. I thanked her and moved on to the next task. My next stop was the bank, where I spoke with a personal banker about the situation. I explained that I needed to document the reversal of the catering payment and inquired about the process for removing names from property deeds if necessary in the future. The banker, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, listened with professional detachment but could not hide her surprise at my family's actions. "Family dynamics can be complicated," she offered diplomatically, "but your financial security must come first." With the financial aspects addressed, I returned to my apartment, half expecting to find Adam already moving in. Thankfully, the place was empty. I began packing methodically, separating items into categories: essentials to take immediately, valuables to secure, and things that could be temporarily left behind. As I packed, I began creating what I would come to think of as the folder. Inside a crisp blue portfolio, I placed the following documents: a professional appraisal showing the current market value of my apartment, 15% higher than my purchase price 2 years ago. A detailed mortgage payment schedule highlighting the monthly obligation. The most recent property tax statements. A breakdown of utility costs by month, demonstrating the seasonal fluctuations. The Homeowners Association Rulebook, with highlighted sections prohibiting long-term guests without proper registration. Copies of the 3 instances where I had covered Adam's loan defaults, including one that had negatively impacted my credit score for 2 years. A letter from my attorney friend, summarizing the legal ownership of the property and the legal process required for transfer of ownership. Information about the potential impact on my parents' retirement funds if they helped Adam financially with this property. I arranged these documents neatly, topped with a handwritten note that simply said, "Adam, reality check. Know what you are getting into, Ryan." While working on the folder, I contacted my friends to explain the situation and cancel the party plans. The responses were universally supportive and outraged on my behalf. Several offered their couches or spare bedrooms indefinitely. Marcus insisted on helping me move my essential items. Through Laura's connections, I was able to view and secure a new apartment across town that same day. It was smaller than my current place, but in a secure building with amenities my current apartment lacked. The landlord, understanding my situation, expedited the application process and allowed me to sign a 6-month lease with an option to extend. Before leaving my apartment for what I expected might be the last time, I walked through each room slowly, documenting the condition with photos and videos. I captured the custom shelving I had installed in the guest room closet, the kitchen backsplash that had taken 3 weekends to complete, the bathroom vanity I had refinished myself. Each project represented hours of work and personal investment. I set up 2 small security cameras, one in the living room and one in the kitchen, angled to capture the main areas without invading privacy in bedrooms or bathrooms. These would activate with motion and send alerts to my phone, allowing me to witness my family's reaction when they arrived. The for sale sign was delivered by Laura's assistant, a large, professional placard that I placed prominently in the small front yard of my garden-level unit. I arranged for a lockbox to be installed so Laura could show the property to prospective buyers. The folder was placed ceremoniously on the kitchen counter, Adam's name clearly visible on the cover. Next to it, I left the spare key my parents had given him, a symbolic reclaiming of my authority over my own space. I removed the family photos from the walls, the only concession to emotion in my otherwise methodical execution. The image of us at Adam's first wedding, my parents' 50th anniversary celebration, the Christmas gathering where we had all worn matching sweaters, these were memories I could not bear to leave behind for their arrival. After a final check to ensure I had not left anything of real value, I locked the door and slipped the key under the mat, where my parents would expect to find it. I had not informed them of my decision, wanting the impact of their arrival to convey the seriousness of their boundary violation. Marcus arrived with his truck as scheduled, helping me load the essentials for my temporary new life. As we drove away from the apartment, I turned off my phone, not yet ready to face the inevitable storm of calls and messages that would follow my family's discovery. December 30th dawned clear and cold in my new apartment. The space was sparse, furnished only with the essentials I had brought with me, but it felt surprisingly like a sanctuary. For the first time since the family dinner, I slept through the night without waking to anxiety. When I finally turned on my phone around 9 in the morning, it immediately began buzzing with notifications. 37 missed calls, 58 text messages. Most were from my parents and Adam, but there were also concerned inquiries from extended family members who had apparently been drawn into the drama. I started with the voicemails, listening as my mother's tone evolved from confusion to anger to pleading across multiple messages. "Ryan, where are you? We came to help you move some things, and the apartment is empty. Call me back immediately. This is not funny, Ryan. Adam and the children are standing here with nowhere to go. You are being incredibly selfish right now. Sweetheart, please call us. Whatever you are upset about, we can talk it through. Family does not do this to each other." Adam's messages were less numerous, but more hostile. "What the hell, Ryan? A for sale sign? Are you serious right now? Call me back or I am coming to your office. You ruined Christmas for the kids. They were excited about moving to your place. How am I supposed to explain this to them?" Laura called next, her professional demeanor slightly cracked by amusement. "Your family is trying to remove the for sale sign," she reported. "I have explained to them that as the legal owner, you have every right to sell your property. They seem to be having trouble grasping that concept." The security camera alerts had been coming in steadily. I finally brought myself to review the footage. The first clip showed my parents and Adam entering the apartment, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock as they realized most of my belongings were gone. The second captured Adam discovering the folder on the counter, his face darkening as he flipped through the contents. The third showed my father sitting heavily on the couch, looking suddenly older as he examined what appeared to be the financial documents. I did not respond to any messages immediately. Instead, I went to work as usual, needing the normalcy of my daily routine. It was there, in the parking lot as I was leaving for lunch, that my parents finally caught up with me. They were waiting beside my car, my mother pacing nervously, and my father standing with arms crossed. Their faces showed a combination of anger and bewilderment. "What do you think you are doing?" my mother demanded as soon as she saw me. You cannot just sell your apartment without discussing it with the family. I approached calmly, keys in hand. Actually, I can. It's my name on the deed, my mortgage, my decision. But what about Adam and the children? They need a place to stay, my father interjected. I looked at him steadily. Did you read the documents I left? He had the grace to look uncomfortable. Yes, but then you know Adam cannot afford the mortgage payments. You would end up covering them, draining your retirement savings. I actually did you a favor. My mother stepped forward, her teacher voice in full effect. This is not about money, Ryan. This is about family loyalty, about being there for each other. Was it family loyalty when you packed my belongings without permission? I asked quietly. Was it being there for each other when you gave away my home without consulting me? You are blowing this out of proportion, my father said, though with less conviction than before. We just needed a temporary solution. Then find one that does not involve taking what belongs to me, I replied. Adam can stay with you while he looks for a new place, or you can help him with a security deposit on a rental. There were multiple options that did not involve sacrificing my home. My mother began to cry, always her fallback when confrontation was not going her way. I had seen these tears many times before, usually followed by Adam getting whatever he wanted. This time, they did not move me. I have to get back to work, I said. I will call you tomorrow when everyone has had a chance to calm down. As I turned to leave, my father called after me. The realtor says there are already 2 interested buyers. You cannot really be serious about selling. I am completely serious, I confirmed. The betrayal I felt in your living room made one thing very clear. As long as that apartment is in the family orbit, my ownership of it will never be truly respected. So yes, I am selling it and using the profit to start fresh somewhere else. I drove away, watching in my rearview mirror as my parents stood stranded in the parking lot, looking smaller and less authoritative than I had ever seen them. Over the next few days, the situation continued to unfold. Adam made increasingly desperate attempts to stop the sale, even claiming he had a legal right to the property because I had once verbally offered to let him stay if he ever needed to, an event that had never actually occurred. Laura reported that during a showing, Adam had appeared and tried to discourage the potential buyers by inventing problems with the plumbing. I authorized her to change the locks and restrict showings to times when I could be present. Through the family grapevine, I learned that Adam had significant undisclosed debt, which explained his panic at losing what he had viewed as a free housing solution. My Aunt Martha, my mother's sister, called to tell me that my parents had explored the possibility of helping Adam purchase the apartment, but had realized they simply could not afford it without compromising their retirement security. The extended family divided into factions, as families often do during conflict. My mother's side largely supported Adam, viewing me as the villain who had pulled the rug out from under a struggling father. My father's siblings, more financially conservative and independent, privately expressed understanding of my position, though few said so publicly. My circle of friends rallied around me with unwavering support. Marcus hosted an impromptu New Year Eve gathering at his house, inviting many of the people who would have attended my canceled party. My colleagues at work, who had witnessed my dedication to purchasing and renovating the apartment, expressed new respect for my assertiveness in protecting what I had worked for. The social media fallout was uncomfortable, but brief. Adam posted a vague statement about family members who turned their backs on children in need, clearly designed to paint me as heartless. I did not respond publicly, maintaining my privacy and dignity, despite the provocation. The traditional family Christmas gathering came and went without my attendance. I sent gifts for Adam's children, delivered directly to their mother to ensure they received them, but declined the invitation to the holiday meal. Instead, I spent the day volunteering at a local shelter, finding unexpected peace in helping others who were grateful for the assistance. New Year Eve, which should have been my hosting triumph, became instead a celebration of new beginnings with true friends. As midnight approached, Marcus raised a toast to boundaries and fresh starts, and for the first time since the confrontation, I felt genuinely optimistic about the year ahead. Adam and his children moved into my parents' house temporarily, an arrangement that I heard was already causing tension. My mother called daily, alternating between guilt trips and tentative recognition that perhaps they had overstepped. I maintained polite but firm boundaries, engaging in conversations about neutral topics but refusing to be drawn into rehashing the conflict until they were ready to acknowledge their role in it. 3 months passed quickly in my new reality. My apartment sold for 15% above the asking price in a bidding war between 3 motivated buyers. The profit allowed me to make a larger down payment on a townhouse in a developing area of the city, a 2-story unit with a small backyard and community amenities. I invested the remaining funds, creating a more secure financial cushion than I had ever had before. Adam continued to struggle, both financially and in his relationship with our parents. Living under their roof had quickly deteriorated from a convenient solution to a stressful arrangement for everyone involved. My mother called less frequently, our conversations strained by unresolved tension. When she did reach out, she carefully avoided mentioning Adam's situation, though I heard updates through mutual family connections. At the suggestion of Marcus, who had watched me process the betrayal with varying degrees of success, I began seeing a therapist. Dr. Wilson specialized in family dynamics and helped me understand patterns that had been established in childhood. I recognized how I had been cast in the role of family caretaker, the responsible one who could be counted on to sacrifice for others without complaint. More importantly, I learned that breaking free of that role was not selfish, but necessary for my own well-being. My social life flourished in unexpected ways. Freed from the constant underlying anxiety of waiting for the next family crisis, I found myself more present in my friendships, more willing to try new experiences, more open to possibilities. I joined a rock climbing group, something I had always wanted to do but had never prioritized. I accepted a dinner invitation from Alexis, a woman I had met at a work conference months earlier, but had been too distracted to pursue. My career benefited from my newfound confidence as well. In a quarterly review, David commented on how I had become more assertive in meetings, more willing to defend my project proposals, more comfortable taking credit for my successes. The skills I had developed in standing up to my family translated seamlessly to professional growth. I maintained limited contact with my family, establishing clear boundaries that some accepted more readily than others. Our interactions were structured and took place on my terms, usually in public settings that discouraged emotional manipulation. My father was the first to adapt to this new dynamic, perhaps recognizing from his business background the importance of respecting established boundaries. 5 months after the incident, I attended my first family gathering, a cousin's wedding where neutral territory and the focus on the bride and groom provided a buffer for potentially awkward encounters. My mother approached me during the reception, her expression more humble than I had ever seen it. "You look well, Ryan," she said, studying my face. "The new place must agree with you." "It does," I replied simply. "I am happy there." She nodded, twisting her napkin in a nervous gesture. "I have been thinking a lot about what happened, about how we handled things with Adam and your apartment." I waited, neither encouraging nor discouraging her to continue. This was progress I had not expected so soon. "We should have asked you, not told you," she sighed deeply. "And we definitely should not have gone into your home without permission. That was wrong of us." It was not a full acknowledgement of how deeply they had betrayed my trust, but it was a start. I nodded, accepting the partial apology for what it was. "Thank you for saying that," I told her. "It means a lot to hear you recognize that boundary." My father joined us then, awkwardly extending his hand, as if we were business associates rather than family. There was a grudging respect in his eyes that had not been there before. "That townhouse of yours is in a good area for appreciation," he commented. "Smart investment." Coming from him, this was high praise, an acknowledgement that I was capable of making sound financial decisions independently. I accepted the olive branch with a small smile. Adam kept his distance during the wedding, watching our interactions from across the room with an expression I could not quite interpret. When we eventually came face to face at the buffet line, his greeting was stiff but not hostile. "Nice suit," he said, nodding at my attire. "New?" "Thanks," It is, I replied, surprised by the neutral comment. Look, about what happened, he began, then stopped, clearly uncomfortable. The kids ask about you. They miss their uncle. I miss them too, I said truthfully. They are welcome to visit me any time. With proper notice, I added. The boundary clear, but not unkind. He nodded, a flicker of resentment crossing his face before he masked it. Maybe someday. Things are still tight right now. The child support payments just increased. It was classic Adam, always the victim of circumstances beyond his control. But I no longer felt responsible for solving his problems or resentful of his inability to manage his life. His struggles were his own, just as my successes were mine. The following New Year Eve, almost exactly a year after the incident that had changed everything, I hosted a housewarming party in my new townhouse. The guest list was selective, including friends who had supported me through the transition and a few family members who had demonstrated respect for my boundaries. Marcus arrived early to help set up, surveying the space with approval. You have created something really good here, Ryan. Not just the house, but this whole new life. As I looked around at the home I had created, I realized he was right. The betrayal that had seemed so devastating had actually been the catalyst for positive change. I had broken free from a family dynamic that had limited me for decades. I had discovered my own strength, my own voice, my own boundaries. The most valuable lesson I learned through this journey was that true family, whether blood-related or chosen, respects boundaries. Love without respect is not really love at all, but a form of control. Real love makes room for individuality, for personal growth, for the right to say no, without fear of rejection. As midnight approached and my guests gathered for the countdown, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the painful experience that had ultimately led to liberation. I had lost an apartment, but gained something far more valuable: the knowledge that I deserved to be treated with dignity and respect, and the courage to demand nothing less. What would you do if someone close to you violated your boundaries in a major way? Would you have the courage to stand up for yourself, even if it meant changing relationships that have defined you for years? Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences with family boundaries. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe for more real-life journeys through challenging situations. And remember, sometimes the most difficult decisions lead to the most necessary growth. Thank you for listening to my story.